everyone? Welcome to the Collider Interview Studio at Fantastic Fest 2024. I am beyond thrilled to kick off my Fantastic Fest with the team behind The Rule of Jenny Penn. Huge congratulations on your movie. It was quite the way to kick off the festival last night.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have many questions about this. James, I'm going to start with you. I know this was an adaptation of a short story, and one of my absolute favorite things about adaptations is it gives you an opportunity to honor the source material, but there's also a really exciting opportunity to evolve it via your own voice. So what space did you find in the short story that, you thought you could bring something to make the film version uniquely your own?
Yeah, we've been very faithful to the short story. The main configuration was turning the short story, which is from Crealy's perspective, and shifting it into Mortensen's perspective, who's sort of one of the more background characters in the short story. And that just allowed for more drama between these two men from different worlds.
Just for fun, did you ever imagine how the tone or the vibe of the movie might change had you gone the other direction?
Well, no. I mean, I think it would have been perhaps a more dour perspective. It would have had a grayer palette than the sort of pinky canned ham spam tones that the home had. But
grayer than John Lithgow's eyes.
I always love thinking of alt versions of the movie we've seen, but I think you went the right route here.
Yeah.
I have another question about the adaptation process, because I was reading that you secured this material, I think it was 10 years ago. So it was making me wonder, what would you say is the biggest difference between how you pictured this film turning out 10 years ago compared to the finished film everyone will see now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we always had Geoffrey and John in the back of our minds, Eli Kent and I. I
wish you'd told me that 10 years ago.
Well, it's like a fine wine. It's just like we can wait 10 years before we do this. They'll still be perfect. It's so it was always there. I mean, the film in my head looks nothing like the film that you end up making. It can't. It doesn't exist. But I think it was always pretty clear from the get go. So it was realized with people, a crew, a wider cast of people that I all had pre-existing relationships with. So I think that, if anything, is what has made it such a thrilling film for me.
It's one of the best parts of filmmaking, and working with new people every single step of the way. I had one more writing question, which admittedly might be a question for Owen, but it is something I have been thinking about, and maybe he told you the answer. Why the name Jenny Penn?
Well, the doll was called in the short story Jenny Penn Caro, and it was a gift to Garfield from his granddaughter, and Crealy had shortened it to Jenny Penn, which sort of just bluntens it, which feels like a very Crealy thing to do.
Whew.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Geoffrey, I'm going to come your way now to talk a little bit about signing on for this film. So I will say, I still can't quite believe that I'm sitting here at Fantastic Fest talking about a bonkers horror movie that's headlined by legends like you and John, and we're here celebrating that, which I think is the coolest thing ever. When this material first came your way, what was it about it that made you think, like, I have something to gain from working on this horror movie that will help me to continue to evolve as an actor who's always honing my craft?
Yeah. If I'd known 10 years ago, I was sort of, I dropped out of the industry for a bit to turn things down because they felt like material that I'd done before. And this was the kind of unpredictable project that I was waiting to land in my lap. And I read it and saw Coming Home in the Dark, which was, I watched that with my family who are all film buffs, and we just sat there kind of gobsmacked. Our jaws were on the ground going, he made this. I know that he made this in 18 nights for $1 million in New Zealand. That's fast. And, it got accepted into Cannes, and then COVID closed Cannes, and then it went to Sundance, and he became the golden boy in Los Angeles, I think. But he certainly knew the material. So we got together on a Zoom. I knew on page 5, I just said to my agent, this is, get me into this film. This is the role, you know. The whole style of it was just curious. I mean, we both come from huge theatre backgrounds, you know, from James for half of his life and me for half of mine. We both worked at the theatre in different countries, and then both got interested or wanted to get into film in some way. And there's just something inherently heightened, not only because of the genre that it touches on. I think it's a psychological thriller, but it's really a drama. You know, I didn't treat it as being, I hope there are a lot of jump scares that make this film very popular. I just thought there was so much more going on in it. And also the challenge of, I love tasks. You know, with a character, I did a film many years ago called The Tailor of Panama, and John Borman, the director, said, I really want you to cut out an entire suit on camera. You know what I mean? And he used it in the beginning, sped up. And I had to learn how to chalk and use the ruler and the shears and all that sort of stuff. I loved learning my sword fights for pirates. I loved learning to look as though I could play the piano accordion in The Book Thief. And this, I thought, you're going to spend the whole film in a wheelchair. So you're reined in. But my wheelchair had 5 little lights on the joystick from speed 1 to speed 5. You know what I mean? And I know by the end of the story, I wanted to be skillful enough to get up to speed 5, even in the most enclosed corridors. But they did a blooper reel for the closing wrap party. And it's mostly me just running down the director, hitting the camera, running into a staircase. You know, they edited me very, very carefully.
I hope you share that blooper reel at some point when the time is right.
Yeah, it was fun.
So I'll stick with you for a minute, Geoffrey, to sing James's praises a little. You're just talking about like your shared theater background. And I am curious because, again, there's a couple of very big swings in this movie. What is something about James as an actor's director that you think teed you up for success playing this role?
He's got a very impish, he's a very good actor. You know, he did a little thing. I kept telling my wife, James is like, he goes into little mimetic moments when he's describing something to you. And yesterday he was describing an unfortunate situation where his father tripped and thought, oh, the door is open, I'll just fall out there. But the plate glass door was closed. And James did a kind of, he did his father hitting the wall. So he has this, he likes the visual dynamics of performance. He'd never demonstrate, but he'd never even give you line readings. But he has a wry sense of, you could be playful on this line. Do you know what I mean? Find some play within the line. And Mortensen is a man of language, which is diminishing because of his condition. And so one of the interviewers this morning pointed out, he said, why the poetry in the film? He wanted to talk about the poetic form and its influence on making this film. And we didn't really think about it like that, did we? But, you know, there's a big chunk of Dylan Thomas in there, which is like an interior monologue from a man whose brain is fading pretty quickly, you know. So that's, I had to use language because I was immobile for most of the film, you know, or running into people.
A little bit of that. Now I want to give you the opportunity to give some flowers to your leads here, because you said this a little last night, but it's also in your director's statement. People often say be wary of meeting your heroes, but in this instance, it couldn't have been further from that. I'm curious, do you remember the very first moment with Geoffrey and the very first moment with John, what they did that signaled to you, like, I did indeed find the perfect creative partners for this film?
Well, the absolute first moments would be seeing Geoffrey in Shine in 1996, and probably seeing John in like 1985 in Santa Claus the movie. Those would be the first.
His early work.
John's earlier work. Despots, even back then. Those are key moments that I remember in noticing these actors and having that sense of, I want to be close to that, initially as an actor, I want to be like them. And then, I'm always looking for any material that I do or Eli and I do. We come from acting backgrounds. We're always sniffing out good characters, secretly characters we would have wanted to have played, and or roles for actors that we want to work with. So when we started developing The Rule of Jenny Penn over 10 years ago, Geoffrey and John were always in my mind for these roles.
What about when you hit set with them? Was there anything they did early on that did make you stop in your tracks and go like yes, they're perfect for these roles, but they're also perfect for me as a director to work with?
I got that before getting on set from both of them. The engagement in the script and the tone, the shared language and reference points that we all had. My going through drama school, one of my key teachers came from the Lecoq School in France, which Geoffrey attended. So there was this shared language, this overlap there already, and that for a director going onto a set in the first, that's incredibly empowering, and the shoot for me, even though it was hard work, it was easy in that it was always pleasurable. It was always very playful, always very fluid, and that's I know that's not an experience I can necessarily count on always having, but it was like playtime every day.
It's an important quality to have on set. I'm going to come back to that a couple of times. But first, Geoffrey, I did want to ask you about working with John. Is there anything he did on this set that made you stop and go like, my God, I knew you were talented, but I never realized you'd be capable of doing that?
No, I worked with him. We did a film for HBO called The Life and Death of Peter Sellers. And he was playing Blake Edwards to my Peter Sellers. And that was 21 years ago. And I've sort of run into John a lot in New York. Like I was doing a play on Broadway there in 2009, and I got a prize. I can't think what it was, the drama desk or for making a Broadway debut. And it was a breakfast, and everyone from all the shows come, and there's all these, Elton John was there. He got a gong for something. Lion King, I think. No, not Lion King. Billy Elliot. Yeah. That's right. And John presented me with that award, and I went, oh, this is so cool. And then we met at the Emmys at some point. He was I was nominated for playing Albert Einstein, and he was nominated, I think, for Winston Churchill in The Crown. So we've just we touch base a fair bit. And, I know how John works. He can really claim his territory. He squirts his scent all over the set. No, he doesn't. But he did say to me, he said, I've had some teeth made. And I went, you're my man. You know what I mean? I said, I've been reading up on strokes and all this sort of stuff. And he said, and I've got gray lenses, and I went, yeah, that's going to be great. because it was there was something that, you know, it's John, but suddenly when you look in his eyes, you go, you're just otherworldly. You know what I mean? And the teeth and that were his two little masterstrokes for bringing the character into focus, so he didn't have to act hard. You know what I mean? It was just creepy. That was a discovery I made about the book. I thought, wonder why Owen, the writer, like it's like Dickens can create great names for characters. Do you know what I mean? Uriah Heep or whatever, Mr. Micawber. And I thought Crealy is like really creepy smashed together. Crealy, it's a nasty name.
A little bit. I could see that. I'm always fascinated by how creators name their characters, because there's always something to, whether it's a feeling or a direct meaning. There's one particular thing I was wondering if there was much meaning in. I guess this is a question for you, James, but also I'm curious about if you discussed it with John at all. When and why he takes Jenny Penn off at certain moments, but not others. Did you two map that out at all, or is it more feeling out a scene on set in the moment?
Yeah, we did have to map it out, and we did discuss it quite a bit because there's continuity and all these things, and then, you know, I need you to use this hand on this side of the camera and everything like that. And this sort of agreement we came to with Crealy was that, you know, Jenny is, you know, she's sort of Hitler's moustache. She's Stalin's sickle. She's the dictator's totem. And then there's those moments where Crealy is just enjoying himself. He's drunk on a moment, a personal moment, or so the assault scene in the day lounge, for example, or needing to try and get the card back from Eunice Joyce. So it was always sort of, at the end of the day, it's Crealy. It's the tyrant of the piece is Crealy, and it's his disguise as much as a weapon, a psychological weapon that he uses.
I'm busy watching the movie and trying to note down every single time he uses her and he doesn't, and try to track it through. Makes all the sense in the world. I think you feel it quite a bit in those particular beats of the story. I wanted to go back to the idea of play. So on this set, can you tell me maybe the scene that might have changed the most from script to screen because of that willingness to play, where you maybe found unexpected magic that you hadn't planned for?
We did the scene where he sort of terrorizes me by, you know, brutally kicking me. There was one little wisp of a stage direction in there that said, because Mortensen is very aware that his brain occasionally shuts down, or he's in one room and suddenly he's not, he's in another room, and he's going, am I blacking out? Am I losing focus and control? And so he was very aware that Crealy would say, you just disappeared for a moment there, didn't you? Taunting me, catching me out. I went, no. And then the script said they both have a little chuckle together, as though we are two mates in a bar having a drink. And it wasn't a motivated thing. And we just went, yeah, it's nervous laughter. And then we did that take, and then James said, just let the laughter continue. And it went hysterical and really dangerous. I cried while I was laughing. It was sort of, I felt so disturbed. You know, tears sprang out of my eyes. And I said, is that too much? He said, look, we might use that. We might use some of it, but it's great to have that another dimension entered the scene, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Do you have an example as well, James, or want to roll with that one?
No, I mean that was a significant day. I remember that very well. I think as a director, though, I was afforded a lot of opportunity from the actors 4 moments of exploration like that, which was a real luxury of going, let's sit in a moment, let's stretch it out, or condense and pressurize, and being able to have actors who are comfortable and have faith in you, and a game to do that and explore. That's a real luxury in terms of what you bring into the edit.
I wanted to make sure to highlight your editor here, because another thing I had been reading is that you mentioned that she's not a yes person. And I think that's a beautiful thing in filmmaking. So can you give me an example of a time when Gretchen challenged you in the edit and something wound up getting even stronger because of it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I absolutely love Gretchen's work, and this was the first time we worked together. We knew each other socially prior, but I don't come in and have a clear sort of autocratic view of how a scene should go. I want to see the scene mapped out, and then we chase the feeling of where's it alive, where's it most potent. And I don't like working with yes people. I like people who are chasing the same thing as me, because then a third quality starts to emerge, which is the thing that neither of us individually held, that we both found together. So you ask, was there a specific moment on a daily basis? Yes, there was.
I'll take that. I mean, isn't that like the whole point of filmmaking? Getting
Absolutely.
a bunch of artists together who challenge each other to make the material better.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure to end our conversation on 2 particular questions. They're both from your director's statement. The first one is just an idea that I love because I'm such a big fan of genre storytelling across the board. You said, I don't shy away from what others call dark material. I think it's important to work with challenging material in the arts because it allows us to unpack some of those more tricky conversations that can be hard to have via other avenues. So just to tease how this movie does that for our viewers, can you tell me a little bit about how The Rule of Jenny Penn does that?
Yeah. We, in our first Zoom chat, we got talking, and I was, I loved the script. The script it was so vivid and challenging in the tasks that it presented. And then I think we talked about favorite films. I said, I'd love to know what your favorite films are. And he sent me maybe a list of about 80, I think. It was quite substantial, wasn't it? And I went, Venn diagram overlap. All of those are on my list. You know what I mean? So we sort of zeroed in on whatever happened to Baby Jane and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because it's a film set in an institutionalized space, like Cuckoo's Nest, and Baby Jane is such an eccentric film that's got ugliness and pain and nastiness and all sorts of things in it. You know what I mean? And they became reference points. I think John's probably more of a Joan Crawford to my Bette Davis. I'm not sure. He's a big Joan Crawford, isn't he? He's a tall Joan Crawford. No. We wanted to keep that in the back of our mind, that it is Grand Guignol. It's the hot and cold of the grotesque and the macabre, but also hopefully psychologically very true, very real, because there's some, with a set that's got a lot of septuagenarians and octogenarians on it, you're in the real space. Do you know what I mean? And I said, how are you going to cast those people? Because it'll be, and he said, I'm going to ask all of my mentors. They're all his teachers from 20 years ago in the theatre when they were in their 40s and 50s and whatever. And they all came back and just said, we'll go with you. And some days, there was a gorgeous young woman in the costume department, Daisy, who was Italian, but she'd been brought up in the north of England. And I always found her curious because I thought, I can't place where you're from. She was very sweet. The day they filmed the dance lesson, she was just sobbing at the monitor, watching, who's the actress, the blonde actress? the dance.
Irene.
Irene, yeah. Irene, that she claimed that moment. She just went into a complete state of Gene Pitney bliss, painting heaven. And she's got little shoes like an 8-year-old that sparkle and light up and everything. And Daisy just sobbed. And I thought, wow, this is really beautiful, you know. And it's shot so low. They're all so low in the water. And then John comes in and just fills negative space. And it's really freaky.
What a beautiful quality to have in your film, that it almost functions as like a little time capsule in a sense for your journey in the industry too. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's, I think, you know, I think it's very important when you're making a film to have the stronger the relationship with your cast and your crew. Many of the crew were people who came over from Coming Home in the Dark as well. So Sam, our sound man, his first job in the industry when he was 21 was my first acting job in the industry when I was 15. So,
really?
you know, you
were a child star.
Well, I was a child actor for a moment.
These connections make me so happy.
Yeah.
Also because, I don't know, it's not you guys well know, it's not an easy industry to navigate, and maintaining those connections and lifting each other up every single step of the way is of the utmost importance. Otherwise, we don't make movies. So the fact that you kept everyone intact here makes me extremely happy. Another thing that makes me extremely happy is the question that I really wanted to end on, because I also think this is very important. It's something you said in your director's statement when talking about how Geoffrey and John work. They love to laugh, they enjoy themselves, and relish everything they do, no matter how extreme. I'm going to keep this simple for each of you. Can you tell me which day on this set brought you the most joy?
Wow. Every day had something going for it. We spent 4 weeks on location in an old resort, and that became the home. So for all the corridors and all the externals, we were doing that. And then the last 2 weeks, we went back to Wellington, and they built our rooms in the studio, so they could pull walls out and control the shots and mostly the close-up. The dialogue, you know, the stuff that went on behind closed doors. I think I really liked when we had everyone on set. So the dining room scenes. Was it Peter who he had to be talking to me. He didn't have much dialogue in the film, but he just said, James said, I want you to explain to Stefan how centrifugal force will get you in the craft to Mars. And this guy just improvised. It was so detailed.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to act. I was just like, he just said, be intrigued. And this guy just totally captivated me. And he wouldn't stop, and I thought, he is a bit crazy. There wasn't any act. He was a bit.
No,
nuts.
he did go there. He went there very quickly.
So that kind of thing would happen, and then then there'd be the discipline of the wonderful older actor who was a mentor to a lot of people, the guy that bursts into flames. Mm-hmm. Now that was very disciplined. The day before, how the stunt would work. The stunt guy would be there. He'd do this, the signals, the safe word or whatever. And then he said to me, I just want you to now scream, and you go, oh dear, this is like drama school. And I just went, I can't move because I'm still on the stick. I'm out of the chair. It's the only time I think I stand up in the whole film. And I just saw this guy burning, and it kept going. And he said, just keep screaming. And I must have screamed for maybe 7 or 8 minutes. I thought he's going to choose the best bit. I don't know. But what was funny is the young third AD on the film, Rosie was just cacking herself. She said, that is at the end of the take, she said, that is the funniest thing I think I've ever seen on set. A man just screaming. And she said, I could tell inside you were laughing a bit. I wasn't. And I knew in the corner of my eye that she was going, oh my God, is this overacting or what? It was hilarious. It was a talking point.
Meanwhile, it plays very effectively in the film. I feel like that's like the first really big and impactful gut punch that signals to the audience, brace yourself because this is what you're in for.
Yeah. I saw a still of that early on, and I went, oh my God, is this the film we're in? Do you know what I mean? There's an old man burning, and this guy is just freaking, going, I can't help him. It's a horrible moment, you know. He gave us good things to do.
I love how that's the example, and we're talking about joy on a set, but really, I think it makes all the sense in the world. They've heard me say this all the time. I feel like the most twisted horror movies are made by the kindest, most lovely, passionate people in the world.
Well, thanks. That's very good to hear.
Do you have an example of a moment of joy on this set?
Yeah, I mean, you know, many. I think that the image that I will hold on to for a very long time would be, we'd finish when we're on set, on location, at the hotel. We'd finish for the day, and then I'd go grab a shower, come down to the bar, and do all my work with my HODs, and watching the sort of sit in the corner of the bar, the circle of actors every evening, coming together and, you know, reminiscing, reconnecting. Remember when we did that show in Auckland in 1983?
And they reminded me so much of older actors that I'd worked with in Australia, who were my mentors. And, you know, we're of a generation of actors who enjoy a drink. So we'd meet every night and just tell stories.
It was
very much understand that.
It was beautiful just seeing an ensemble like that and seeing how, you know, welcoming and they were of, you know, Geoffrey and John, because these are people who've been working together for decades. So that image there.
Love that. Yeah. Truly one of my favorite qualities to hear about on a film set. And then also when it comes to the finished product, one of my absolute favorite qualities as a horror lover is to get to watch something that is, yes, hugely thrilling and entertaining, but also something that has a whole lot to say and imagery and ideas that sticks with me and keeps me up at night in a way that I do think truly matters. And I feel like you accomplished that with The Rule of Jenny Penn. So thank you for sharing some of your experience making it with us, and huge congratulations on the movie.
Thank you so much.
To everybody out there, thank you for watching this interview. Keep an eye out for The Rule of Jenny Penn, and also stay tuned. So much more coming your way from Fantastic Fest 2024.